This is May the 11th, 1988. We are in the Adams Mark Hotel in Kansas City, Missouri, and we're interviewing Mr. Russell Davenport. Mr. Davenport, could you tell me where you were born and when?
I was born February the 25th, 1923.
And what's your address now?
2525 Pall Mall, Sterling Heights, Michigan.
And when and where did you first join the Navy?
Bluefield, West Virginia. December 22nd, 1940, 19, oh hell, I'm messing.
That's all right. That'll be on your written information that comes in. Do you remember where you attended boot camp? Can you tell us something about that?
Norfolk, Virginia. Norfolk, Virginia. January the 9th, I was sworn in the Navy. January. I went through boot camp and taken 8 weeks.
Can you tell us something about things that happened in boot camp?
No, not too much.
Where were you assigned when you left boot camp?
I went aboard the Pyro ammunition ship at Norfolk, Virginia. And then I stayed on that till we came around to Long Beach, California. That's when I went on board the Oklahoma, April 28th or 29th, 1940.
Did you request to be assigned to the Oklahoma?
No.
What do you recall you were thinking when you first saw the Oklahoma?
Well, it looked like a large ship to me compared to what the little ammunition ship I was on. It looked like it was a giant ship, that's all.
Where were your quarters on the Oklahoma?
Right back at the stern of the ship in the 4th Division.
And could you tell a little bit about an average day for you when you were on the Oklahoma?
Well, average day was, after I was assigned to the Oklahoma, I was in the boat crew and running different motor launches, going over the beach, coming back.
Do you remember what you were doing on December 6th, 1941?
Oh yeah, doing nothing. I ran out of money and I wanted to go to shore and couldn't do it. And I had to stay aboard, sitting around on topside, and then later on we went to a movie aboard ship, and that was it. Went to bed, turned in early.
Could you tell us about the next day, December the 7th?
December 7th, I got up, had breakfast, showered, shaved, had breakfast, and I was on motor launch, number 2, and I was down wiping the dew off the seats, whatever. They call them gunnels, I guess, and it was a 50-foot motor launch, and it was, I don't remember the length, the width of it, but down wiping the dew off. Torpedo planes, not torpedo, the bombers came down at Fort Island, and dropping the bombs, and the explosion, the noise, seen the black smoke roll up, and I knew it was a Jap attack. I climbed up the sea ladder, up on the boom, cross, jumped over the lifeline, run down towards the 4th Division on the port side, hatchway going down. When I seen the torpedo planes come in, they were so low, they couldn't clear the mast of the ship. They had to go between the ships, like the Pennsylvania behind and the West Virginia, and then the Oklahoma, Maryland, Tennessee. And when torpedoes started hitting the ship, I was going down to 4th Division living quarters. And that's when the first one hit and knocked me off the ladder or stairway or whatever you want to call it. And ladder in the Navy, but knocked me off balance. I fell, got up, started running through the compartment, fourth division living compartment, where all the 4th Division guys live. And the first torpedo hit, we had some of the guys were playing records that morning. I'll never forget a record let me off uptown. And volume went up on the record player, and it was blasting real good. And the second one knocked it completely out and knocked me off my feet again. I got up and went through the compartment, going down around to the carpenter shop. It blasted again. That was the 3rd torpedo. And the 4th and the 5th one got me before I went down to the handling room in my battle station. When I got there, the 5th one hit. And then the ship was almost capsized. I mean, it wasn't completely capsized, but it was turning over quite a bit. I think it sunk in about 7 or 8 minutes. Everything was opened up. We got down to the my battle station. That's when the last one hit. 5 torpedoes. And then we had some of these 1,400-pound shells, dummies they used back and forth for practice. It had a little line about the size of my finger, had it lashed around, secure it. You know. And when the ship was going over, it hit. It fell off. The line broke and everything, and caught a guy right here. I never knew a guy's eyes would tangle down, and his tongue stuck out. And I can still see him right to this day. I can still see the guy's eyeballs hanging down, his tongue down, and he didn't move after that. And we opened up the hatchways, doors, and we got to get out of there because it was filling up. And they give us word, Battleship. Going up escape hatch, that's when they give us word the Battleship is too late. The ship was practically over. And I let 9 guys in front of me go up the escape hatch. And I got up to the escape hatch where the shells are all stored. And that's when they all broke loose. And on the nose of the ship, the nose of the shells, they had a cup of dye where they could tell where they're using the target practice, telling everything, where the ship was off, this and that. It broke loose and killed all them guys in the shell deck. Killed every one of them. And I went right back down where I started from, but it was the opposite. I had my neck between 2 pipes. I was trying to pull them apart. And I realized I couldn't even budge the pipes. And I pulled my neck out, or head out, and went right back down, and I went in up through the hatchway, went through the carpenter shop and went forward. And I stayed up there, I don't know how long, swimming around, trying to find some way out. And after I couldn't find a way out, I started swimming back. I came back through the carpenter shop. They had conveyors going forward, these big black belt conveyors. They would put storage and food and everything else up forward. Used it like whatever it was. And I come back and I heard some guys talking, but I heard right before we got back to the compartment where the lucky bag was, this Frank Wood was with me, he and I was the only guys left. We went up forward and they didn't come back with us. Frank Wood, I tried to tell him, I said, no, come on, we're going to get out of here some way. But he said, no, I'm pooped out. And he was only about, I'd say about 28 years old. But that was an old guy compared to 17. He seemed like he's an old guy, but now he doesn't seem that old. And I heard the different people talking, different guys talking, and finally we came back to the Lucky Bag. We through the carpenter shop, through the Lucky Bag, and came to the Lucky Bag, and then that's where I ended up with 11 guys, total myself, and we stayed there. I don't know how long we stayed there, but we could dive down. I dove down maybe a dozen times. Went through 2 or 3 hatches down, square hatches, and I could feel the wooden deck. And about the last time I went down, I could feel all that mud the ship was sinking in the mud, and it was getting thicker and thicker. And I tried to tell the guys, I said, well, if we're gonna go now, we better go, because the ship is settling down in the mud. And no one wanted to go. And I wasn't going to force no one. I wasn't even going to force myself. I said, well, maybe we'll take our chance. And Scott, shipmate of mine, I was in the boat crew. I had a long pair of whites on. I'd taken the whites off, pulled them off, and I stripped them, made like a rope. And I would dive down with my t-shirt and everything with the rope. I'd dive down about 4 decks down, see, and I could feel that wooden deck, and it was getting muddier and muddier and muddier. And the ship was sinking down deeper in the mud. And I told Scott, I said, well, and the air was getting smaller and smaller. When we used up the air, the water would come in. The air pressure was keeping the water out. And after a while, I told Scott, I said, well, you want to get the hell out of here, we have to, if you can swim that far, that's quite a distance, all the way across the deck and back up. It was about 35 feet up, or 40 feet up. I said, it's quite a distance. I said, I don't know if I can make it or not. I said, well, when it comes to this, when it fills up, we might as well try it. Through that mud and everything else. And we didn't have to go, because they drilled a hole through the bulkhead, and all that air went out. And that bulkhead, we had a doorway or whatever you want. We had the 2 hatches down, dogged it down, and this thing buckled just like that. With that water pressure, and all that air went out after they drilled that hole. And they used a big air hammer and cutting that metal, and they cut it here. I was the 11th guy over there, and it filled completely up with water, and I thought my lungs would bust before I got over there. And after, I don't know, I don't remember coming out of the hole. I don't remember coming out of the hole. And they got us out.
Where did you go after you were taken out?
The Solus, the hospital ship, was there for, well, the next morning they shipped us out. They put us on sub base, and the sub base, my division officer give us orders to go down, find a Honolulu light cruiser. I asked him, where's it at? He says, naval base here in someplace. Find it. I don't know. And it was about 10, 11 o'clock at night. And every time we'd take a step, someone would shoot. You wouldn't shoot, but put a rifle on our back or belly or something. And after about 2 hours of that, we found the Honolulu. And then they wouldn't let us aboard. And finally they woke up the exec officer deck had to, and I said, well, we've got orders, I don't know what's the trouble. Wouldn't allow us to board. Woke up the exec, and exec brought us aboard and put us down in the chow hall, second deck down. We had to take the oath again, sworn in the Navy, we were the spies, and oh, it was quite a mess.
So you were assigned to that ship then?
I was on the Honolulu for a year. We got torpedoed. I got off of it. I went on to Denver and Philadelphia. I was on to Denver for a year. We got torpedoed on that. I got off of that, and I went on the Oglala, which is sunken Pearl. It was next to the Hellenier. A torpedo went underneath the Oglala and hit the Hellenier, and concussion sunk the. And that, I left that in the Philippines, and I came back and got discharged from the Navy in '46.
What are some events that you remember about being on the Oklahoma besides December the 7th?
Oh, it was exciting. I thought it was exciting when we hit that typhoon and tore the propeller, broke the shaft off of that thing. We lost a couple guys over the side. I wasn't excited about losing the guys over the side, but that was, I think, it was quite a story when we hit that typhoon. We was in that typhoon for about 4 or 5 days, I guess it was.
Where was that? Where were you headed when you hit the typhoon?
We was out on maneuvers, doing nothing. Hit that typhoon and tore the ship up. We lost all our boats, seaplanes. We lost 2 seaplanes or 4 seaplanes. I don't know what, 4 I think it was. Knocked them off, and we lost a couple guys over the side. And it really busted the seams up in the bow. Busted the seams up in the bow of the ship, and we had to reinforce it from the inside. Oh, it was quite a storm.
Did you see any of the other ships blow up at Pearl
No.
Harbor?
No, I didn't. No.
Were you on the Oklahoma when it crossed the equator? Or?
No. I went aboard middle of April 1940.
Do you have any other events that you'd like to relate?
No.
Well, we want to thank you for the information you've given us.
I wish I'd been halfway sober, but it's the truth what I told you. When you're talking, and the air pressure was keeping the water out. And that saved us right there.
This is when you're down before they cut you out.
Yeah, yeah. And before I tore my pants up, made a rope out of them, had a $20 bill in my pocket, and I gave it to Scott. And Scott said, he said, what the hell am I going to do with this $20 bill? And I said, well, spend it in the first damn cat house you get to in Honolulu. And he said, boy, you're the only one who'd be thinking about something like that. And he threw it away, you know. And he never gave me the $20 back yet.
What was his full name?
Frank Scott.
Frank Scott.
Yeah, from Sioux City, Iowa.
Thank you.